The Hard Count is presented by BetMGM. As y'all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this college football season. We'll be using their lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for all of you each week. Now, when you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up yet for BetMGM, use bonus code HARDCOUNT, and you'll get up to $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. 1, download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code HARDCOUNT. 2, deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. Step 3, you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code HARDCOUNT when you sign up. Let's make this college football season 1 for the books. Let's make it legendary. Let's get to the show. Welcome into the Hard Count. It is Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. Last one on the face of the planet, a prediction Tuesday, as we've been known to call this certain day of the college football calendar every single week, doing our predictions for you. Hey, here's the thing. Week 6 catching a lot of slander right now. Oh, hey, why don't you come out to the pumpkin patch with us this weekend? Hey, no good games on. Hey, why don't you make some plans to hang out with us on Saturday night? You always watch ball every week. Can't you take 1 week off? This slate sucks. Don't listen to them. It's always the quiet ones. I'm telling y'all now, this exact same week a year ago, they were saying the same thing. And then what happened? Field storming in Nashville, taking the goalposts out to the Cumberland River. Okay, Tennessee, Arkansas. Arkansas beats Tennessee. Nico goes out of bounds before throwing it to the end zone. I'm just saying now, they told you the same thing. This exact week a year ago. So make sure you're locked in. Glad to have you all a part of this. Let's get it on and popping with our BetMGM game of the week. Miami at Florida State. Rivalry action. Miami. This game opened, I believe, at 5.5, favoring the Canes over at BetMGM. It is now down to 4.5, 7:30 Eastern, ABC, Doak Campbell Stadium. If you're Miami, this is a chance to win the state now. Think about it. Beat Florida already. You beat USF for good measure. And if you beat Florida State, think about the feather in your cap that is on the recruiting trail if you're Mario Cristobal. As if the Canes needed any other extra ammo to work with on the trail for a one Mario Cristobal. Think about what that would mean for them. I think it's a nice pitch to make in any given living room. Should be noted, first road show for this version of the Canes. Carson Beck, new starting quarterback, obviously, but he hasn't been on the road with this group just yet. Bunch of young bucks on the perimeter. I'm just saying, we'll see what they look like. For Florida State, this is a spot you didn't really foresee yourself in after you beat Alabama. I think we all just assumed, okay, Florida State, they're going to run the table. They'll be playing Miami at home, undefeated. College game day will be there. It'll be great. Not the case. I say everyone. We kept circling that Virginia game and said, hey, just let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Let's see what they are when they go to Charlottesville on a Friday night. Now, for full transparency, did not predict Florida State to lose that game. Just was curious what we would get from them. So you lose that game, and as much as that sucks if you're a Florida State fan to now have a loss on the resume, I think that this version of Florida State, with a loss the week before, kind of refocuses them, and you would like to think maybe regenerates any sense of urgency that could have potentially been lost by being undefeated. I don't know. I think this version of Florida State is more dangerous than if you had won in overtime against Virginia. I digress. Miami offensively, man, the task for them at hand here is everyone just be cool. Everyone be cool here, because what I said a second ago, this is going to be the most difficult spot that this offense has been in to this point in the year. And Carson Beck, you're the adult here, brother. Act like it. We need you to be poised. We can't have any situations now where you get a little bit greedy, try to force the ball in some tight windows, and we have our eyes get a little bit bigger than our stomach offensively. I need you to just take what the defense gives you. I need you to hit the checkdowns. I need us to all just be cool, okay? Because if you try to get a little bit too aggressive, you try to, I don't know, make something happen early because it's a rivalry game and you got adrenaline and you're in your home state, obviously playing against Florida State. I mean, obviously you're in Florida any given weekend if you're playing for Miami. I digress. The point I'm trying to make here is if Miami gets ahead of their skis and they get too aggressive offensively and they try to create explosives that aren't there, this Florida State defense plays downhill. They play with aggression. Tony White, the way he calls that defense, it is risk it for the biscuit. Okay, so they're going to very early on, I think, try to rattle a one Carson Beck. You gotta withstand that storm early if you're Carson Beck and this Miami offense. A thing that would help you do that now: pound the freaking rock. That's who you want to be anyway, right? Mario Cristobal is your head coach, former offensive lineman himself. I understand Shannon Dawson, the OC, from the air raid family tree when it comes to how he calls it, but they have done a phenomenal job blending that air raid philosophy with real deal punch you in the mouth kind of attitude on the offensive side, okay? So watch what they do when it comes to the condensed formations when Miami's on the offensive side of the ball. When I say condensed formations, all that means is they line those receivers up real tight to the line of scrimmage. They'll play with an extra tight end out there at times. What Miami does when they line up with those condensed formations, obviously it creates some ideal spacing in the passing game at times. It gives you a lot of field to work with if you're a Malachi Toney or a CJ Daniels. What I think Miami's doing when they line up in condensed formations is just tell you very clearly, we think we're more physical than you, therefore we don't need to spread it out. We're going to go right at you. We're playing downhill. We're giving it to Mark Fletcher. We're giving it to Brown. Like, we feel more than fine imposing our will on you when we line up real tight and just go straight forward. Saw it happen multiple times against Florida. Several attitude drives at the end of that thing where it was like, nah, Miami's just tougher. And the thing is, too, they've built for a minute here on the recruiting trail and via the portal to be the more physical, more tough team on any given Saturday. Is that the case in this spot? Remains to be seen. But if you want to mellow out a defense that's aggressive, condensed formations, pound the rock, all that would help you out in a massive way if you're Miami. Now, for Florida State on the defensive side, you got to answer the bell here, man. I just said the condensed formations from Miami, they'll line up with two backs a good amount and attack the perimeter when they run the football. As big a story as it is going to be in this game for defending the pass and, lining up with Toney and all those different pass catchers they have at Miami and getting after Carson Beck, all those things are true. I think this game will come down to if Florida State's able to meet that level of physicality that Miami is going to throw down in this spot here. Okay, now for Florida State, I think it won't just be a thing where you got to win on the interior. You got to win on the perimeter because there's going to be several moments where it's whether it's an extended version of your run game where it's like the quick passing game on the perimeter and it's a screen game or whatever, there's going to be several moments where that Florida State defense, especially on the third level, will have to rally up, be sure in space, make good tackles, and again, most importantly, attack the perimeter when it comes to what you're doing against those blockers from the position group of the receiver room from Miami. Can you fill up with violence in those spots and go create some negative plays, or at least short gains when it comes to how Miami's going to attack you on the perimeter? Now, if I'm Tony White, especially early here, I am going to do everything in my power to rattle Carson Beck. You're saying, JD, no duh. That's what every defensive coordinator wants to do. But especially Tony White, with how they draw it up, they look to be a little bit exotic with their pressures and things of that nature. They go with the three true down linemen and have an edge rusher off the edge there as well to try and be a little bit more dynamic and a little bit extra degree of speed on that defense. If you can rattle Carson Beck early, you can rattle the entire Miami operation. Okay, because if you can get Carson Beck to create that early turnover and then you get a spot where it goes back to Castellanos and you can kind of take their out of the football and limit their possessions overall on the Miami side, that would be a massive, massive advantage for Florida State in this spot. Because what you want to avoid is Carson Beck hits a big one early, he gets the confidence, and then you're playing catch-up and Miami can just run the football. That's not a world you want to live in. Rattle the pilot, rattle the plane is how I'm approaching this thing if I'm Tony White. Now, on the offensive side for Florida State, make it your game. Tell you one thing I'm doing if I'm Gus Malzahn. I'm not letting Ruben Bain wreck shop. I am reading him all day long. Because guess what? You got to block Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain, probably not going to be a great situation for you to live in. But if we can just make it a thing where Ruben Bain, we're leaving you unblocked and we're going to just read you all day long, cool. We don't have to worry about blocking you. We'll just scheme around you. And so if that's the world you live in, you limit the game-wrecking potential of Miami's best defensive player. Other thing I'm doing here from Gus Malzahn, I'm using Miami's aggressive defensive flow against them. Because Miami, you watch them on tape, they are violent, dude. They get downhill. They look to create negative plays. They play with high energy. You got guys doing the Ray Lewis dance in the backfield when they get a big play. Like, all those things are phenomenal. That's Miami defense. That's what I think you expect from a Miami defense when it comes to what that logo has been and what that tradition is on the defensive side of the football. However, you want to be aggressive, be my guest. We'll go play action. We'll hit squirrel wide over the top. Deuce Robinson over the top. And so as much as it's important to set those up, you got to go capitalize too. Like, Deuce Robinson, we need you here, brother. one-on-ones against a secondary from Miami put together via the portal. We need you to go in and be the difference. I think when you talk about the matchup for Florida State and Miami at the skill players, I think Miami, the test they got against Notre Dame was a good one relative to the overall talent level, but like this test versus that test, I think are two very different things. I think Florida State, skill player-wise, pound for pound, will provide a greater challenge for Miami in this spot. Because remember that game, it's rainy, so you kind of have a slow track to begin with, but also like C.J. Carr's first ever start for Notre Dame. Jeremiah Love and his number of touches were limited. I think the dynamic nature of Thomas Castellanos, of Usman Kroma, of all the players in the perimeter for Florida State, this to me is where Florida State can go win the game. Get the explosives, all right? So Miami defensively, two things. No hero ball on the back end. Got to have some self-control. I know you're going to want to trigger on the screen game they've shown you 3 or 4 times in the first half, but I promise you, Gus Malzahn has a screen and go in the bag there, and they will hit you for an explosive, and that's a bad way to live. Other thing, I need us to attack some blockers and just create messy pictures in the run game, because so much of what Gus Malzahn does offensively is predicated on the quarterback making decisions in the option game and the RPO game and all those things. Just playing with a certain level of downhill violence, controlled now again, but downhill violence and attacking those mesh points. We saw Virginia do this at a high level. When you muddy the picture for Thomas Castellanos, when I say muddy the picture, like creating carnage, we're rushing right at the mesh point as opposed to giving a definitive look of we're going to have him a give or a go, whatever it is. When you do that, it creates a little bit of indecision at best. At worst, you just muddy up the running lanes. And when that happens, you might get got for 3 or 4 yards. Guess what? You're not getting got for 30 or 40 yards. That's a big thing for Miami here. Don't allow the explosives in the run game. Don't allow the head game to get going with Thomas Castellanos where you're trying to attack the mesh point and then he gets out out the back door because you've been tired of getting got by the inside zone look, like all those things. If you can just be disciplined with the violence, getting downhill, but also make sure you're muddying up the picture, good things will happen for Miami on the defensive side. So let me be very clear. There is a version of Florida State that we've seen this year against Alabama that can win this game. When they're creative, and just what I said, they have your number defensively because you're tired of getting got on the perimeter and they got to reverse the back way around, or you're tired of attacking the mesh point and Thomas Castellanos getting out around you and they just get you up and under on the inside zone stuff. Like there is a world now where Florida State dictates terms to you with the flow of your defense and you get got and you lose the game. It's happened before. I've seen it happen to Bama, and Bama just beat Georgia this past weekend. So that win is aging pretty well. But I go back to this thought whenever we pick games, like, okay, what do I trust? Who do I trust in this spot? What I trust is the line of scrimmage of Miami. I think that even if Carson Beck takes a second here to get going, even if he has a turnover in the first half and you're like, hey, what's going on with the Miami pass game? I trust that the violence of Miami up front is enough to win a game if it gets ugly. I also trust if it's a game in the fourth quarter and we go down to, which quarterback is going to make the play, I trust the 6-year guy in Carson Beck. So with that being said, I'll take Miami to win. I'll take Miami to cover. I think it's close throughout the entirety, but I think Miami makes a couple plays late to get it done. Has a very much so feel of like that final drive that Miami had against Florida, where, again, they just kind of snatched the soul. I think that's kind of a situation we see here from the Miami run game. Final score, Miami 27, Florida State 21. So, again, Canes win and Canes cover. So we'll stay in the Sunshine State here for the next one, man. We got a good one. Texas at Florida. In the swamp, man. Arch Manning. It's your time now, baby. If it's going to happen for you this year for Texas, this would be the spot where you would like to see some, some momentum heading into Red River. I digress. For Texas, this is a chance, I think, to kind of redefine who you are, if you will. Because the last game we saw that was really worth watching from you was the Ohio State game. Okay, so you didn't look awesome against UTEP. The boos broke out. Okay, whatever. Now you're playing in the SEC. Now you're going to one of the toughest venues in the SEC. If you can look convincing in this spot, I don't know if Florida's that great, but their defense is good. I know that much. So a chance to kind of redefine who you are. Maybe hit the reset button a little bit on what your season has been to this point. I say all that, and you still got one loss. For Florida, getting late early, man. Like if there was ever a spot to show something, to show some urgency, to show some of what we talked about all offseason long with your football team. Kept saying how they finished the year strong, and DJ Lagway is this and he's that, and the line of scrimmage for Florida, all those things. This would be the spot to show that against that team in Texas, against that roster and that head coach and Steve Sarkisian. So I'm just warning y'all, man. I think the over-under total for the game is like 43.5, something disgusting. That's a number you usually see whenever like Iowa's playing. Okay, so this game could be just disgusting. Like take a shower after level of disgusting. The Florida offense has got to help DJ Lagway out. As much as DJ Lagway has been, I'm trying to think of even the right way to phrase this, disappointing in the context of this season, you can't have him throwing 35 passes a game. You can't. Like Florida offensively isn't even built to do that. Like they're built to do what? Run the football, create ideal down and distance, get the ball in their playmakers' hands whenever the defense overcommits. That's what Florida's built to do. They have not done that this year. That's why you're where you're at when it comes to number of passes averaged a game. Now, I understand that the LSU data point in there with 49 passes in that game kind of skews that number a little bit. You hear what I'm saying? You got to help DJ Lagway out here if you're Florida. Both on the line of scrimmage, at the playmaker position, play calling spot, Billy Napier. Like, we got to help him out and give him spots where we're not asking DJ Lagway to go win the game against this Texas defense, okay? What I'd like to see here from Florida is, one, commit to the run game. Okay, we said it all offseason, how good Florida's offensive line was supposed to be, how good Jaden Ball was supposed to be. All right, let's see it. You're at home in a spot where your back's against the wall, more than against the wall. Let's go prove something there. Other thing I'd like to see, as much as I'd like to see the line of scrimmage be dictated by Florida, I have a hard time thinking they're just going to go up there and boss up against Texas. So I'd like to see a little bit of creativity in the perimeter run game here. Or heck, even the perimeter pass game. If we're going to go ahead and get the ball out of DJ Lagway's hands quick and get it to Vernell Brown in space, Trey Wilson in space, you got to have something to get this defense, I think, of Texas rocking and rolling just a little bit. Let's have something to circle the defense here, get it in our best players' hands, and A1 Trey Wilson, and we'll live that way. For Texas, it feels like a fairly simplistic breakdown to me on that side of the football for them. The competitive plays may decide this thing on 3rd and short and 4th and short. Like legit. I could see a world where it is just a gross, low-scoring game. Maybe neither quarterback really gets going. And similar to the Ohio State game, where it came down to a goal line stop for Ohio State and a goal line win for Ohio State on the offensive side, which is the side of the game, like it might be that kind of world that Texas has to live in this spot. So the big thing here is, can you win those competitive plays on 3rd and short and 4th and short? Big Colin Simmons looking at you, brother. Big Anthony Hill looking at you, brother. And then can you keep from falling asleep at the wheel when it comes to the explosives? Because I'll tell you what, it could be a boring first 3.5 quarters. But when it comes to crunch time, I promise you, DJ Lagway, Billy Napier, as much as you want to talk about what the offense hasn't done this year, they still have some speed on the outside that can hurt you if you get a little too aggressive playing the run and get a little bit too comfortable just triggering downhill. So has to be the case there. Don't fall asleep at the wheel with explosives, and then win on the 3rd and short and 4th and short. I think that will decide the game. Now, offensively for Texas, kind of the same story. It's going to be a disgusting game plan. And not in the good sense. Like, it's going to be just a gross game plan. Texas on the year is averaging 58% of the time running the football. You say, JD, well, it's because we played a lot of nobodies. Yeah, I hear you, but even against Ohio State, like, that was sort of the only sustainable offensive option for you, right? A couple of explosives downfield, but for the most part, like, I think Texas knows who they are here. And I keep saying this, but, like, this is the game where I'm really going to have more of a definitive take on who Arch Manning is coming away. I think Arch Manning could be serviceable in this spot, but just what I said about Florida and DJ Lagway, I don't want Arch Manning to have to go win the game for us here. Like, if either quarterback is going for 300-plus yards in this spot, that team's going to win the game. I don't think that's going to happen. My thing I want to ask of Arch Manning here is, can we set you up for success? Can we use you running the football? And then when there is an overcommitment from the Florida defense, can you cash in on the back end? Like, Arch, we're not going to ask a lot of you here. Maybe physically we will running the football, but we're not going to ask a lot of you throwing the football. But we need you now, when we have Florida overcommitted, when we have it set up, can you hit on the cash-in throws? If he can, Texas will win. If not, this game gets really ugly, really interesting in the 4th quarter with Texas favored by a touchdown here. So, Defensively for Florida, kind of the same thing we said for Texas. Like, it's a grown man's game. It's no secret what Texas is going to do offensively. They're going to run downhill. They're going to make you commit to the box. It really is kind of an inverse of what we said for Texas on the defensive side. Limit explosives. Be sure tackling in space. It feels a lot like Steve Sarkisian, the play caller, has a couple of tricks up his sleeve here. There's still a lot of good skill players for Texas, most notably Ryan Wingo. Can we get him involved, Texas? Can we find ways to get him the football in space and get him downhill with a head of steam on the perimeter against this Florida secondary? In that situation, Florida, that can't be how you lose the game. It can't be because Ryan Wingo had a couple of explosives that put you out to pasture. That can't be the way that you live. So with it being gross and with it being just a weird game to break down because you're really not sure what you're getting from either quarterback, I think that the Miami tape for Florida is what concerns me, because Carson Beck didn't have his best game in that spot, and Miami still just imposed their will, ran the football, commanded the line of scrimmage, and that was how they won the game. I think Texas can do that. They're deep at the running back spot. Line of scrimmage, I think, for Texas on the defensive side is as advertised at this point. I think Texas also, quite frankly, is the better coach team. I feel better in a one-down game with Texas having the football. I like Steve Sarkisian dialing it up more than I like Billy Napier dialing it up. So for that reason, I'll take Texas to win. I'll take Texas to cover. Final score, Texas 24, Florida 17. So if that line keeps dropping to like Texas -6, Texas -5.5, go ahead and take it to cover. But if it starts to swing back towards the home team at any point this week, I don't like it more than a touchdown favoring Texas. So one-score game, Texas wins. Rock out, man. Going to be a fun one. Cato, what do you think about this game, man? There's a lot of things to break down with it, but what are you watching closely in this spot?
JD, I still just can't get over the fact that we are looking at this game and talking about which offense can help their quarterback the most to win. Like the fact that we're in week 5 of this season, and for both of these quarterbacks, we're getting choked up talking about bad quarterback.
It's an emotional topic. It is.
Yeah, it's just still so bizarre to me that both of these guys that we looked upon as like the reason you felt good about either of these teams had to do with them being the catalyst, and now asking both of their offensive lines and skill players and running backs to like push them through the finish line is still so crazy to me. What if we're wrong? I told you that one team was going to win this game and it's because their quarterback played at a level that we were more expecting this year. Which quarterback, I guess, would you think that would be?
I would think it'd be DJ Lagway. But when you say that, I'm also like, I think Arch can do more for you on the ground. And so I feel better given that, prompt. DJ Lagway, I've seen him do more exciting things than Arch Manning, but I think you can call the game for Arch Manning a little bit easier, which sounds bizarre to say out loud, but I think you can call the game easier for him with the mobility on the ground.
No, we watched DJ get several big SEC wins late last year. So him, it feels like he's closer to doing that potentially, but then you have the 5 interception game and it's like, all right, what do I even think of this guy? And then same with Arch Manning, up till this point hasn't played great against a true good SEC team. So not saying Florida's that, but their defense is good. So it'd be cool if one of them could pop in this game and get it rolling, but what a disappointment, I guess, for both of these quarterbacks if this turns into a game or a season for both of them, really, where it's the supporting cast bringing them along versus them being the one to elevate it. Just so interesting to me still 5 weeks into the season.
And I think that supporting cast for Texas is why I lean Texas. If it comes down to Sark dialing up a couple of winners, if it comes down to the Texas defense getting a defensive score, kind of like it did against LSU for Florida. If it comes down to the margins here and DJ Lagway and Arch Manning is just a wash, I lean Texas for those reasons.
Crazy, man, crazy. Them being a wash and just it counted, the game counting on everyone but the quarterbacks would just be insane to me. But can't wait to see it. I said in the 25 questions segment, never been more excited for a game for all the wrong reasons ever. Not because it's some big time ranked matchup or anything like that. Just what will we get from these two quarterbacks that so far have not lived up to the hype this year is something I can't wait to watch.
It's bizarre, but it's just a bizarre year in college football, it feels like, and it's only getting weirder and weirder. I would have bet money before the year that Florida and Texas was going to be college game day. Guess what? It's not. Game day, going to Tuscaloosa. for Vanderbilt at Alabama, 3:30 Eastern, ABC. Alabama, after losing this game a year ago at the crib, favored by 10.5. What do we think about that? We'll break it down right now. Before we do, though, make sure you're subscribed. College football, nothing but college football year-round. Appreciate you, college football sickos, for being a part of this and making this show what it is. But for Alabama, this is your second rat poison test against Vanderbilt in as many years. Bad news, failed that rat poison test last year, man. You beat Georgia. I'm talking about, did Alabama hire the next Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer? Joel Klass talking about how the Alabama offense is going to be impossible to stop, and then you roll into sleepy Nashville. Get yourself beat. Big part of that. Hard to not say it was rat poison, to be honest with you. So Alabama, guess what? Same spot. You beat Georgia. We're all talking about how good you are, how good Ty Simpson is. Is he a guy that could win the Heisman Trophy? I don't know. We'll see. But if you eat the rat poison for a second year in a row, this Vanderbilt team, they're better than last year, and they beat you last year. What does that mean? I don't know, but the fun thing with watching Vanderbilt is think about how dark it has been for Vanderbilt over the course of their recent history. Like the Vanderbilt logo, I think the over-under win total coming into last season was like 2.5. We're trying to find a way to count to 3 to see if we get the Vandy win total over. Newsflash, it hit with flying colors. A big reason why? Yeah, Diego Pavia, big part of this. But just the overall temperament of this Vandy team, they play like they don't care what that Vanderbilt logo used to be. Like they don't have any half-stepping within that building. They feel great about themselves. They feel great about their approach. They trust Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt trusting Vanderbilt, I think, is a scary thing for the rest of college football because they are running hot right now. All right. Now, offensively for Bama, it has got to be aim small, miss small. Question, why did Bama lose this game last year? Well, you say, JD, again, Diego Pavia and his brothers just getting after it in the same. I hear you, but like, listen to this. Alabama lost last year for 2 reasons. 1, they could not possess the football. 2, they turned over the football. Vanderbilt, 42 minutes of possession offensively to Bama's 17. If you live that way again this year, you will get beat. Alabama, 2 turnovers last year, one of them for a touchdown against Vanderbilt. Can't be the way that you live in this game. So, Ty Simpson, you just put on an absolute clinic against Georgia when it came to third down. 13 of 19. He's just, picking his spots. So precise, all those things. That's great against Georgia, but guess what? Can you do it again? That's what college football is all about. Can you do it another Saturday in a row against a good Vanderbilt defense? Now it's going to make sure they get after you. I'd also like to see from Bama here a little bit of ground presence. Last year, Alabama ran for 84 yards. Reason why I'd like to see Alabama have a ground presence, it's Alabama. The way that Alabama recruits, who they have on the offensive line. Like, I'd like to see Alabama get a push here, battle about that aggressive Vanderbilt defense, help Ty Simpson when it comes to those third down situations. Like, if you can run the football here, another feather in the cap, and a very, very big lean towards Alabama if they can have over 100 yards rushing on the ground to put out a number for us there. Now, also, get the ball to Caden Proctor. I'm kidding. We move forward here. Vanderbilt defensively, what I worry about for Vandy here, and I think the reason why the number is what the number is when it comes to it being double digits favoring Bama, I worry a little bit about this becoming a game of personnel on the outside. Like, as good as Vanderbilt has played to this point in the year, I don't think there's anyone on your roster that can match up just straight up with a Jeremy Bernard or a Ryan Williams or a Isaiah Hort. Like, you hear what I'm saying. So when that's the case, you got to do everything in your power, Vanderbilt, to get Ty Simpson off his spot and make it not about the personnel on the perimeter. Like, if you can speed Ty Simpson up, it's going to create rush decisions. Rush decisions are usually not good decisions. Nobody is their best selves whenever they're running late. I digress. So if you can do that, it increases the likelihood of 3 and outs for Bama. It creates the likelihood of more turnovers for Vanderbilt to get. That's got to be the world you live in. Very quietly now, Vanderbilt, top 15 in America when it comes to sacking the quarterback. Vanderbilt, top 10 in America when it comes to tackle for a loss. So speeding up and heating up Ty Simpson is the name of the game here. You want to make it a world where it's not about Ryan Williams versus your guy on the outside. It's got to be about your defensive front creating problems for Ty Simpson and creating better situations for your offense because of that. All right? Now, speaking of offense for Vanderbilt, I need the change-up pitch here. Vanderbilt has been phenomenal in doing like their version of the triple option, the RPO stuff. Diego Pavia runs that to a T. But my feeling is Bama's going to take what happened last year a touch personal and be a little bit more dialed into the decision-making of a Diego Pavia, be a little bit more dialed into the death by 1,000 cuts kind of approach they took last year. I need Vanderbilt offensively to have the change-up pitch that they had last year because Eli Stowers went for over 100 yards. One of the best tight ends in college football, plays for Vandy. Whenever Alabama wins on that first and second down situation for Vanderbilt and you're sitting there in 3rd and 11, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 7, whatever it looks like, I need Vanderbilt to be able to have something for 3rd and long. And I think that's Eli Stowers. But if it's not, I need someone else to step up here big. So Diego Pavia, we need you with your arm to be able to still make some things happen and extend some drives here for Vandy and to be able to possess the football, which, again, was a big part of why they won the game a year ago. So you say for Bama defensively, what does that require of you? The Vanderbilt offense, the option offense in general, tests two things. Your physicality in your secondary. How much do you want to go tackle in the run game? How much do you want to go attack those tight ends and receivers when they're blocking their tail off? Are you able to meet that level of physicality on the perimeter? Time and time again for 4 quarters. That's one. 2, the discipline. Vanderbilt does an awesome job of just lulling you to sleep with the run game, with the perimeter pass game, and then after a while, bam, RPO over to Stowers. Bam, play action, deep shot, explosive play, strike up the band. That's how Vanderbilt won this game last year. That's how they could win this game again if Alabama gets a little bit, one, just tired being physical with Vanderbilt in the perimeter, which is a hilarious sentence. And then 2, if they get a little bit too aggressive and they get tired of having to make a tackle for 4 yards and they want to go make that tackle for a loss, then it's over the top. Then it's Diego Pavia's show. And that's how Alabama loses this football game for the second year in a row. So my pick in this game, what I just said, Vanderbilt is better than they were a year ago, and they won this game a year ago. I would like Vanderbilt a lot more in this spot if Bama was undefeated. I think that loss that Bama already has on their resume from Florida State is going to serve them well. I think this year's Bama is much more edgy than last year's Bama. And that is the secret ingredient to this whole thing. It's not about talent for Bama. They're always going to be the more talented team on just about every field they step on. I think this is a spot where it's I think it's a revenge spot here for Bama. I know it's a revenge spot here for Bama, as we all do. So for that reason, I'll take Alabama to win. If it stays at 10.5, I like a backdoor Vanderbilt cover. Something cheeky like 31-21 is what I would say there. But again, at home, revenge spot. Ty Simpson and his overall, I think, just disposition competitively will keep the sense of urgency high for Bama. Big reason why they win this game. So Alabama wins, but Vanderbilt covers a little backdoor action in Bryant-Denny. We're rocking and rolling right along here. We'll go a little bit up-tempo here for these last couple of picks. Mississippi State at A&M. Texas A&M favored by 14, huh? Interesting. 7:30 Eastern, SEC Network. For A&M, man, it's a consistency thing. We've said it for the better part of the last few weeks, like a broken record. I'm saying it one more time here. That's great. You beat Notre Dame. Cool. Auburn comes to town. Can you bring your best? They did. I don't know if it was their best showing offensively from a point total, but well enough to get it done. Consistency is the thing here when it comes to roster talent for A&M because they match up well with Mississippi State. But Mississippi State, it's a dangerous squad. Tell you what, this year's Mississippi State is not last year's Mississippi State. Can you keep pushing, if you're the Bulldogs, past a game where you were so close? Because the concern I have here with a young Jeff Levy team, you got the big win over Arizona State, emotional high. You play Tennessee to overtime at home, you lose, emotional low. Can you reset and bring your best ball to College Station to play that A&M defense? All right? A&M defensively, my question for them is, can they play honest in the box? I remember the Notre Dame game. I remember C.J. Carr having a good day at the office, okay? Newsflash, Blake Shapen and these perimeter players from Mississippi State, Brendan Thompson, Anthony Evans, they are good enough, I think, to hurt you if you have to do some extra in the run game. Now, Fluff Bothwell, one of the best names in college football, transfer over from the Sun Belt, had a great day against Tennessee. If you're not able, with an honest box, to stop the run against Mississippi State, and you have to bring down some extra resources, you got to add in a safety, Brennan Thompson is one of the fastest players in college football. You will get burned. You will get beat deep, and it will be a very uncomfortable fourth quarter where it's back and forth, and Marcel Reed's got to have something late to win the game. Like, that's not a world you want to live in. So it's a big test for A&M schematically up front. Also, it's a big test for these DBs, man. Like, do you need extra help? Are we at a better spot than we were in South Bend? Have we learned from that? And also, too, like, pass interference penalties, like to cut down on those a little bit if you're A&M. So that's a big test there for the Aggies. Now, on the offensive side for Mississippi State, kind of the inverse of that, can you get the push you need up front to demand that extra attention up front, to demand A&M to do a little bit of something extra? I also think that when it comes to the perimeter players, what I already told you with Evans and Thompson, I'd like to see them win those matchups early because, I say early in the play, because A&M is number one in America when it comes to, number one. They're near the top in America when it comes to the sack rate for them. Brennan Thompson's averaging 16 yards a catch. Would like to see the explosives there for Mississippi State to be able to mellow out that pass rush for A&M and get something going there. A&M offensively, they have got to hit their own explosives. And I don't think the explosives for them will look like how they did against Notre Dame. I think this could be a screen game situation. I think this could be the quick game that you get some yak from a Craver or a Concepcion. You have got to stay patient here if you're Marcel Reed. Got to stay patient. It can't be a thing where you get greedy and then Mississippi State on the back end takes advantage, and at the end of this thing, you're like, man, if we just had maximized those possessions, we would have taken 3 there. Instead, it was a turnover. Instead, we got a little bit too aggressive, handed the cookie jar, hurt ourselves. Mississippi State defensively, you got to take some calculated risks because the A&M run game is just too physical. Ask Auburn about that. Ran for over 200 yards. I think that you need to do something to find a way to win on these early downs because you haven't been great stopping the run. You haven't been great getting after the passer. I think you have to sell out and force some uncomfortable decisions from A1 Marcel Reed. A poor decision from Marcel Reed. That's how you win this football game. So I go back to the intangibles, man. Like A&M, they survived a couple close ones. Can you reset? Can you reset after beating Notre Dame and beating Auburn? Can you find a way to just get back center? Don't feel good about yourself for winning a game close against Auburn and bring your best to the table. Can you flush it and reset? Same thing with Mississippi State. Can you get back up off the mat? In this game, I will take the culture that I trust more. I'll take the run game that I trust more. I'll take the home team. That number's shocking to me for A&M being favored by 2 touchdowns. That's a lot of points, especially with what Mississippi State has shown they can be this year, especially with that quarterback Blake Shapen. But here's the thing. Whenever I see a surprising number like that, I tend to believe someone knows something that I don't. And so with that being the case, I'll believe that person. I'll go ahead and say A&M wins, A&M covers, and they get it done. Staying unbeaten, the Aggies get it done in College Station. Next game up, Michigan State going to Lincoln, Nebraska. 4 Eastern, FS1. Nebraska favored by 10.5 here. All right. For Nebraska, this is kind of the next step sort of win. If you're going to get to where you want to go in Matt Rule year 3, what did we say post-Michigan? The close loss hurts and it feels familiar, but like Nebraska's taking the proper steps with the close losses being to the upper class of the Big Ten. So if it's going to be that way where you are playing close with the upper class, you got to beat the middle class of the Big Ten. And I think Michigan State, based on their roster and based on what they have at quarterback and based on their head coach, I think they're kind of in that middle tier of the Big Ten right now. Now, the Michigan State part of this is interesting. The schedule for them sucks, in a word. Got to go to Indiana, so got to play Michigan, got to play Penn State, got to play Iowa. They're at Minnesota in there just for good measure. You look at the rest of the schedule like, hey, if you want to make a bowl game if you're Michigan State, you kind of got to have one of these games or a game against Maryland or so on and so forth. So bowl eligibility would take a nice little boost here for Michigan State if you can win this game. Dylan Raiola, man, it's all about you. People talking down on you about the Pat Mahomes cosplay and the mannerisms and whatnot. Like, I hear all that. I laugh at it. Go beat Pat Mahomes in this spot. Because guess what? Nebraska, they are asking you every single weekend to be the reason why you win games. That's why you came to Nebraska, right? To be the reason. Nebraska is top 10 in America when it comes to pass attempts per game. 41. Michigan State haven't been great throwing the football. The reason being, if Dylan Raiola, or the reason why I mentioned that, if Dylan Raiola is on his P's and Q's and he's dialed in, you would think there's explosives. You would think there's points for Nebraska. If and when that happens, guess what? Michigan State, you can't play your style of ball anymore. You have to throw the football. You can't be 57% run like you have been on the year. And then for Nebraska, guess what? You help your defense out quite a bit by doing that, because the defense for Nebraska over the course of this season hasn't been great against the run. Now, the numbers against the run for Nebraska are a little bit skewed because you have that Michigan data point in there where they ran for 286. So I don't think it's nearly as bad as the numbers indicate. But still, you don't want to have to ask a lot of your run defense in this spot. You'd rather your top defense on the back end in America, when it comes to what they've been defending the pass, they're best in America when it comes to yards per pass allowed. So if you force Michigan State out of their style, and then you force your defense to play to their strengths, all that to me goes back to what can Dylan Raiola do for you in the pass game, especially early. Now, Michigan State, this is the game where I need Aiden Childs and his legs to be a factor here. Need it. He can scoot a little bit better than what his numbers have indicated, and Nebraska has had problems against mobile quarterbacks. Think about the Cincinnati game. Think about Bryce Underwood in Michigan. I would really do my best, if I am Michigan State, to involve the quarterback run, especially early. If we can create some offense that way, that would be, I think, a path to keeping this thing close in the fourth quarter, with it being a double-digit spread favoring Nebraska. And I say all that, but I still go back to this. I think it's really an intangible spot for both sides here. I don't know where the offense comes from for Michigan State. With that being said, I would think that you would have to get a letdown of sorts from Nebraska on the defensive side. Why would there be a letdown? Because you're not consistent. Why are you not consistent? Because the culture from Matt Rule in year 3 seems to still be trying to take shape. Again, that's the story you're telling yourself if Nebraska goes into this spot and allows some explosives and allows an offensive output from Michigan State that, quite frankly, they shouldn't have here. So for Michigan State now, kind of scrappy, right? It's kind of the calling card you've had to this point under Aiden Childs, under that whole offensive approach. Even against USC, they fought back and made that thing a little bit interesting in the fourth quarter. Can you do that again here on the road against a team in Nebraska that's trying to take that next step? I'm going to go back to what I think is true. I think that Nebraska's better coached. I think Nebraska has the better roster. I think Nebraska has the better quarterback. I'm going to trust Nebraska here to look like a year 3 Matt Rule team. So I'll take Nebraska to win. I'll take Nebraska to cover. I think we see the Matt Rule traits show up here in a big spot for them in this way. So I'll take Nebraska at home, covering 10.5, and setting themselves up now for an exciting October for the Huskers. I'll leave it at that. But Nebraska wins, Nebraska covers, and Dylan Raiola looks the part. So let's finish up with some unhappy news. This is one that hurts my soul. I get it, but it hurts my soul. Sam Pittman is out at Arkansas. That became news Sunday morning after they got trounced by Notre Dame. A couple quick thoughts on Sam Pittman. I think that what he did there was nothing short of remarkable, especially early on. Because you got KJ Jefferson, you got Treylon Burks. They were an exciting team early on, had a team that was winning with culture, which is something that we have not really seen from them over the course of the last couple of years. I digress. Sam Pittman's run at Arkansas was awesome. The unfortunate part of this is it's a bottom line business. And Arkansas, under Sam Pittman, the last couple of years, had not met that bottom line. So you look to the future, what does Arkansas need? We're going to talk about it right now with Caden Smith, but I got 2 thoughts. One, I need an activator. Like the Sam Pittman-esque, personality, it doesn't have to be a Sam Pittman personality, but the personality factor still being there. And then 2, I need someone who can generate the belief, if you will, when it comes to getting those pockets opening up a little bit. All right, I need some of that when it comes to the new age of NIL. And assuming that you're not ever using the same kind of bat that a Georgia or an Alabama is when it comes to adding talent, I need someone who can do something different, a little more with less. Like Bobby Petrino is going to get his chance to earn this job yet again for Arkansas. A lot of things being thrown out there, Cato, but just your overall thoughts on this opening and your overall thoughts on Sam Pittman being fired in Fayetteville.
Yeah, I hate it too, JD. When I first started on 3 writing for the national news desk, Sam Pittman's not someone that was on my radar at all, and just immediately became like a coach where anytime he has a press conference, I want to hear what he has to say. Just prototypical offensive line coach turned NFL or head coach. That is just an awesome dude. I think everyone was saying he's the kind of head coach you want to have a beer with. Just a great guy. See him in the SEC doc, even just interacting with their fan base. I really think he was a good fit there, and the results just weren't there. You just hate to see it. The 2022 AutoZone Liberty Bowl that he played in against Kansas was like one of my favorite games ever. Like just such awesome teams back then with KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders. So hate to see the end of an era, but like you said, Petrino will get a shot at it. If he finishes the season strong for Arkansas, you can see them bringing him back. But my biggest questions for him is just off the field in this new era of NIL and the transfer portal. Is he the kind of guy that you want leading your program that is equipped for those nuances in college football, just given his track record of the last time he was a head coach at this level compared to now? He's obviously been in the system, been in the rooms, but I think he has, just with his experience in general and at Arkansas, an opportunity to definitely win this job, win this team, win this program over as the head man going forward this year, especially looking at their schedule.
It's funny, Pete Nakos has a hot board out there, and a lot of names being thrown around. The hot board from Pete Nakos isn't funny, but it's funny when you talk about the people up for this job based on that hot board. Go get the full thing at on3.com. But a name that's out there is Rhett Lashley. And Cato, the longer I sit with it, I'm like, man, I don't know if Arkansas right now is a better job than SMU based on what you just said. Like the off-the-field support you have from SMU, very obvious. You have what you need to go acquire top talent. Is Arkansas going to be in that tier relative to the rest of the SEC? I don't know. And that would be a big question I would have before taking the Arkansas job. It's a question any coach has before they take a job right now, but especially in Arkansas when you're up against the Bama's, Georgia's, Texas's, heck, Florida's of the world whenever they're on and pop, LSU with what they did this past cycle with the portal. So I'm just really curious to see who's able to, one, be able to make it work with what they do or don't have resource-wise. That's a big I know it's fun to say it out loud because it'd be awesome if he was in college football. But if I'm going the activator route, John Gruden.
It's the only answer, man.
He is the activator. And I don't know how realistic that is. I don't even believe he's on the hot board. But the idea of it is so easy for me to fall in love with. So I'll go that direction. Alex Golish, if it's about a do more with less situation, I don't know if he would take it because he's got a good thing going at USF and he seems pretty happy there. But he'd be a guy that I would watch pretty closely too when it comes to this job. Those two fit those molds to me. Activator John Gruden, more with less, do something different guy, I think is Alex Golish.
Yeah, I think after just doing this for every coach opening, we might just have to like make our John Gruden video and list the rank the jobs we'd want him to get, just because we keep throwing him in there for all of them. But I think the first name I thought of, and it's going to be curious to see what Arkansas wants to do as far as experience, because Sam Pittman was a first-year head coach. He coached at Hutch, like junior college, 2 years, like in the early 90s. But this was his first big-time gig. So do they want someone newer? Do they want someone who's been a coach before? You know what state's right next to Arkansas? It's Oklahoma. And Oklahoma State just got rid of a coach that I think would be an awesome fit for Arkansas. I think Mike Gundy, throw him in Arkansas. Someone who has a undeniable resume, and I think that would just – I don't know what the pockets are looking like. It's a better question for Pete Nakos. We might have to ask him that as far as Arkansas versus Oklahoma State, because we know that was kind of a part of Gundy and his experience and his eventual departure from that program. But experienced recruits literally in that area, knows exactly how to get around. If it's more of an NIL budget than he'd have at Oklahoma State, I could see that being enticing to him, being in the SEC. Like, I think Gundy going over one state over would be super sick. Another guy, maybe Gus Malzahn, gets back into the SEC after a strong year at Florida State. So if they want someone with coaching experience, I think there's going to be a couple head coaches out there that actually be a cool and interesting fit. John Summerall is another guy I'll keep pounding the drum for and banging the table for. Has the connections to Kentucky, obviously, and everyone kind of expects him to end up there if that job opens up. But again, does less with more. Did it at Troy. Is doing it at Tulane now. Like, I think he'd be the G5 candidate I'd go with there if I had one. But why go to the G5 if you can just look a state over and make Mike Gundy say no? I mean, I think everyone would be on board for that.
That would be insane. Can you imagine that mullet in that state?
It'd fit.
It'd be a fit, man. I will say, if I were giving a prediction on this, I think Bobby Petrino ends up getting this job.
What record do you think Bobby Petrino has to have moving forward as this team's head coach?
I think making and winning a bowl game inspires enough confidence to where you can talk yourself into, okay, well, like, he took over mid-year. It wasn't even really his program. Just like he kind of inherited a tough situation. Like, if they go make and win a bowl, I think the vibes will be too good to pass up on Bobby Petrino round two. Because I think also – Kaden, remember when he got hired and there was kind of this eyebrow raise of like, whoa, for real? Like, he's You're going to bring him over to be your OC at that place with that history.
Yeah.
And we all sort of whispered the same thing. If it doesn't go right, Sam Pittman might have just hired his replacement. I think we see that through. I'd be curious to know what the actual conversations were behind closed doors and how much that was talked about when he got hired. Hey, listen, Coach Pitt, we love him, man, but like it's not going all that great. It's a big reason why you're coming in, Bobby Petrino. I wonder how much of that was talked about, even on the front end of him taking the OC job.
Yeah, sad day in Fayetteville for sure. But you said they need to make a bowl game that would require 4 more wins. Rest of their schedule's at Tennessee, hosting A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, at LSU, at Texas, and then closing the season against Missouri. So
you
I think
gotta
that's a tall ask.
So within that, you would have to find a way
to win 4 games.
But you thinking about the kind of wins that are on the table there to get to 4, because I think you could squint and see a win over Mississippi State.
Yes.
I think Missouri is tough.
Last game of the season. It's at home.
At home. So okay, maybe you get that
Battle line rivalry.
Your Auburn feels pretty winnable these days.
I don't think they're winning on the road. I don't think they're going to Tennessee, LSU, or Texas getting a win. Right. If they do, then more power to them. So you kind of need 4 wins in those 4 home games: A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Missouri.
But my point being, if you got a 4th win against any of those teams, that's like a whoa. Mm-hmm. Like the vibe off of that.
Well, depending on how
would be enough.
Depending on how your national champ pick looks in a couple weeks.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that might be a win for him. Who knows, man? Who knows? Kaden, good stuff as always, man. Hey, we appreciate y'all making this show what it is. Another Prediction Tuesday in the books. A couple more picks for you tomorrow. We'll pick Notre Dame, Boise State. We'll pick Ohio State, Minnesota. Always a good time on this show, man, with y'all college football sickos making it what it is. Make sure you are subscribed on your way out the door. For Caden Smith, the ones, the twos, the mic, all that, man, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We'll keep this party rolling. We'll see y'all.